In the name of Allah, the most merciful and the most beneficent. Today I'm gonna present something, and that was Kali Linux topics, and my topic is a new era of Kali Linux penetration testing and knowing the facts of ethical hacking. Before the beginning, I want to introduce myself. My name is Akram Hossain, and I'm a CSC student, diploma holder, batch 27, and my course title is Operating System Lab. I'm presenting my presentation to my dear Sir Ismail Siddiqui Imun Sir, LTO, CSC Department, Feni University. So, the outline of my topics about Kali Linux features, Kali Linux requirements, Kali everywhere, security service, top Kali Linux tools. So, in the first thing is that about Kali Linux. So, firstly, Kali Linux, formerly known as Backtrack Linux, is an open source Debian-based Linux distribution aimed at advanced penetration testing and security auditing. Kali Linux contains several hundred tools targeted towards various information security tasks such as penetration testing, security research, computer forensics, and reverse engineering. Kali Linux is a multi-platform solution, accessible and freely available to information security professionals and hobbyists. Kali Linux was released on the 13th March 2013 as a complete top-to-bottom rebuild of Backtrack Linux, adhering completely to Debian development standards. Next, Kali Linux features more than 600 penetration testing tools included in Kali Linux. After reviewing every tool was included in Backtrack, Kali Linux eliminated a great number of tools that either simply did not work or which duplicated other tools that provided the same or similar functionality. Details on what's included are on the Kali tools site. Secondly, free and always will be. Free means as in beer. Kali Linux, like Backtrack, is completely free of charge. It means nothing to worry about paying system, or you don't have to pay, and always will be completely free. You will never ever have to pay for Kali Linux. Thirdly, open source Git tree. Kali Linux committed to the open source development model, and our development tree or Kali Linux development tree is available for all to see. All of the source code with goes into Kali Linux is available for anyone who wants to take or rebuild packages to suit their specific needs. Next, FHS complement, and it means file system hierarchy standard, allowing Linux to easily locate binaries, support files, libraries, etc. Wide-ranging wireless device support. Next, custom kernel phased for injection. As penetration testers, the development team often needs to do wireless assessment, so our kernel has the largest injection patches included. Next, developed in a secure environment. The Kali Linux is made of a small group of individuals who are the only ones trusted to commit packages and interact with the repositories, all of which is done using multiple secure protocols. GIF is signed packages and repositories. Every package in Kali Linux is signed by each individual developers who built and committed it, and the repositories subsequently sign the package as well. Then multi-language support. It has the significance of multiple language support, completely customizable. It is a completely customizable. It has a completely customizable features. For the first thing, if we want to install a Kali in our PC or in an electronic device, we have some requirements. Firstly, a minimum of 20 GB hard disks for installation depending on the version. Version 20.2 requires at least 20 GB. A minimum of 2 GB RAM for i386 and AMD 64 architectures, a bootable CD or DVD drive or a USB stick. A minimum of an Intel Core i3 or AMD E1 processor for good performance. Next, in this picture it has shown as the basic Linux kernel. The basic Linux kernel has two sides. First is user space and second is kernel space. In user space we have seen two types of things. One is a user application and second is GNUC library or GLibAC. Lastly, kernel space has four types of things. That first is system call interference, interface, kernel, architecture dependent kernel code, hardware platform. Next, full Linux kernel. The Linux is developed by a team who develops it for at least 10 years, and it has developed a lot. Look like some function layer, system processing, memory, storage, networking, human interface, using user interface or user surface interface, virtuals, bridges, functional device control, hardware interface, CPU, specific physical memory operation, logic, file system protocols, and so many and others. In this picture they have shown a lot of things that they have developed, and they have the specific route one to another. Thirdly, it have cloud, containers, virtual machines, WSL, ARM, bare metal, mobile or USB supported things. Nextly, security service. Best encryption tools for Kali Linux is GNU Fiji, Crypt, 7zip, Varacrypt, Tails OS. Next, in this picture we have seen that Linux ubiquity. In this picture, Linux has shows us the Linux process scheduler, Linux process modules, Linux network scheduler, Linux stacknet filter, Linux device drivers, Linux the file system drivers. And in the other side we have seen that remote SSH or HTTP, keyboard and mouse, touch display, speech recognition, attitude sensor, motion sensor, display sound vibration, and this picture shown us how Linux works and how it will work for others or devices. Next, from the beginning we have seen some important topics about Kali Linux, and in this slide we have seen that what is Kali Linux. Firstly, Kali Linux is an advanced penetration testing and security auditing Linux distribution named after a Hindu god. It was designed to replace the backtrack Linux distro. A Linux distro is a operating system based off the kernel, Linux kernel. Think Windows NT and all the Windows distribution, XP, Vista, 7, 8, 10, and so on. Kali Linux is itself based off Unix kernel, Unix, Linux, backtrack, and next the item is Kali. In this point we have seen that Unix is the first thing, then it will come into Linux, then it will come into backtrack, and next and at last we have the Kali. Why you use Kali? It is a simple question, and for the reason is that it is free. It is totally free. 300 applications from password crackers to digital forensics software, vast wireless devices, support ARM processors, completely customizable, multilingual support, secure development environment, open source Git tree, file system hierarchy or FHS complaint, GNU privacy guard or GPG, secure signed packages and ropes. So why are we are not using Kali? It is totally free. Then Kali's tool, 300 plus Kali tools, and some of those are Metasploit and Map, Wershark, Eric NG, John the Reaper, Case File, the Hydra, and Idiono, and so on. Free Wi-Fi cracker is available in Kali's toolkit. And next, top Kali Linux tools. Some of the Linux tools are in top position, so we have to know that. Nmap network scanner. We are talking about top Kali Linux tools. First is Nmap network scanner. It is a network scanner. It is used to discover host, ports, OS and services along with their versions over a network. Then the second top tools is a WAF suite, a web application security testing software. It is used as a proxy, so all the requirements from the browser with the proxy pass through it. Then Wireshark, a network analyzer. This is a network analyzer. And next is Metasploit, a penetration testing. Then SQL map, SQL injection attacks. Then a social engineering toolkit, collection of tools that could be used to perform social engineering attacks. These tools used and manipulate human behavior for information gathering. It is a great tool to phish the websites even. Next, Kali Linux penetration testing. We are now talking about the Kali Linux penetration testing. Firstly, mastering the terminal window. Mastering the terminal window outlines in and outs of the Linux system terminal window and covers how to manage the file system like the pros. You will learn how to manage users and groups inside Kali, and you will see how to manipulate files and folders during engagements and much and more. Next, mastering the terminal windows that will cover Kali Linux file system. In mastering the terminal window, we have Kali Linux file system, terminal window basics, managing users and groups, manipulating files and folders, handling remote connections, Kali Linux system management, dealing with networking in Kali Linux. The second topic is in mastering the terminal window. We have the Kali Linux file system. Now we are briefly discuss about it. To get a visual representation of Kali Linux file system directories, open the terminal window and execute the is command to the list. ls command to list is contents of the root directory. Example, Kali @ Kali, and the sign of cd, sign of ls is represent and mastering tools. Terminal basic commands. First, to open the terminal window from the desktop, then use the Ctrl+Alt+T key combination instead of opening the application from its icon using the mouse cursor. To get help for any command, execute just append each or a hyphen help to it. Some commands require you to use only one of them. For example, to see the application options for the cat command, just type cat. Help in the terminal window to get all the help needed regarding this tool. Then, Tmux terminal window. It's a particular terminal window that allows to manage multiple windows in your current terminal session. Tmux key building. In Tmux, we must use Ctrl+B to instruct it that to execute a Tmux action command. The first way is to add a user specific file called tmux.conf, and the second way is to add a global file all to users under etc/tmux/etc/tmux.conf. Next, window creation. To create a second window by pressing Ctrl+B and then pressing the C key. Splitting windows. To split the selector tab into two sub windows side by side, we must press Ctrl+B and then enter the % character on the keyboard. Navigating inside Tmux. To switch the panes or sub windows, press Ctrl+B and use the arrow keys arrow keys which we use in in our gaming section to switch between windows. Press Ctrl plus B and then the number of the window to divide the window into two sections, one over the other, like two rows. Ctrl plus B and then the double quote. To close a fan or a window, just use exit. To close this section, we just use exit like any other regular terminal window session. And then managing users and groups in Kali. How we manage users and groups. To add a new Kali user to Kali, in this example, Gaz is going to be the user. Someone is going to be the user, anyone. Use the user add command. Along with it, you need to choose the sudo group with the G option and the spell type of -s option. $_ the user add -user username G group name as shell type. As means shell type. It looks like this root at the rate Kali colon something is like hash user add gaz sudo /bin/bash. To add a new group in Kali Linux, use the group add command. Group command is like the window. Next, manipulating files and folders. How we manipulate the file and folders. To list the file and subfolders inside any directory, we use the command to get the job done. We can use a command all contents including hidden files, and I command formatted list. For I'll command formatted list. For the permissions, the same principle applies to a file or directory. Simplify it. The permissions are divided into three categories: first, second, and third. Then, handling remote connections. RDP is used to connect remotely to a Windows operating system. We need to use the desktop command. Kali Linux system management. To display the operating system information of a Linux operating system, which is Kali Linux in this case, use the uname command, and along with it I display the contents of the /etc/issue configuration file. Dealing with the networking in Kali Linux. How we deal with the network in Kali Linux? If we want to assign a fixed IP address to Kali Linux host or Kali host, we will need to edit the configuration file /etc/networks/interface. The domain name system or DNS translate domain names into IP address. It means DNS translates the IP address into domain names. Now, bash scripting. The second Kali Linux penetration testing is bash scripting. Bash scripting is an essential skill for a penetration tester. In this chapter, we will learn how to start to use programming principles such as variables, functions, conditions, loops, and much more. In this chapter, we have printing to the screen using bash, using variables, using script parameters, handling user input, creating functions, using conditional if statement, using while and for loops. Next, network host scanning. This chapter will teach us how to conduct network scans like professionals. We will learn first about the basics of networking, and then we'll delve deep into the port scanning techniques. In these chapters, the basic of networking, networks basics. Identify live host, who is the host of this network. Port scanning, service enumeration, operating system fingerprints, and map scripting engine scanning for subdomains. So the basics of networking. There are some networking basics to protocols to work in Kali, like TCP, UDP, ICMP, ARP, etc. IP address are divided into two parts, IP version 4 and IP version 6. It means Internet Protocol version 4 or 6. Identifying live host, when we execute the ping command, our Kali host will send an ICMP echo request to the destination, and forward the target will respond with an ICMP echo reply packet. Thus we can say that the target is alive. Next, port scanning. There are so many options in Nmap to execute a port scan, but the one that we can use for TCP is the SWIA scan. In fact, Nmap will execute this type of port scan by default like this line. Services enumeration. To execute a service version scan using the best scanner, Nmap is the option for doing a version scan. In Nmap is SP. Next, Nmap scripting engine. The Nmap scripting engine NSE contains a set of additional functionalities that make Nmap work like a boss. The Nmap team categorized all those functionalities into different groups: auth, broadcast, default, rediscovery, DOS, exploit, external, fuzzer, intrusive, malware, save, version, vuln, etc. Scanning for subdomains. There are a lot of tools out there that scan for subdomains. What matters is understand what they do, so you need to make sure that you chosen one will do the following: quickly brute force subdomains used on a good quality dictionary file, check the DNS transfer, domain name system transfer, automate a subdomain lookup on the internet search engines like Google. Next, internet information gathering. How we gather the information of in internet. It discussed of passive information gathering phase in penetration testing. We will be introduced to how to deal with the advanced search engine queries. Also, we learn how to Shodan and other tools to get the job done. In this chapter, we use internet search engine to get the results, the Shodan, the Google queries. So how to display information about domains using the Wiz database. See how the essential tools for passive footprinting work in Kali, including the harvester, Dimitri, and Meltego. Social engine attacks. Social engine attacks focus on how to take advantage of human weakness and exploit a weakness to exploit organizations. We will learn about how to send for phishing emails and steal credentials. How to send phishing emails to steal others' credentials or others' special data or something others. On top of that, we will see how to use social engine toolkit as a penetration tester. Finally, we will see how USB rubber ducky operators in similar ASCII attacks. In this chapter, sending phishing emails. How to send phishing emails. We will know how to send phishing emails, stealing credentials, use the social engine toolkit, basics of failures, and listeners using the USB rubber ducky for social engineering attacks, and so on. Advanced enumeration phase. It reviews how to handle the enumeration phase in a penetration testing engagement. Enumeration means collecting the necessary information that will allow us to exploit the specific service like FTP, file transfer protocol, SSH, and so on. Advanced enumeration system phase has so many options like FTP, SSH, Telnet, SMTP, POP3 or IMFE4, Microsoft SQL, Oracle Database Server, MySQL, Docker Engine, Jenkins, HTTPS, RDP, VNC, SMV, SNMP, and so on. Exploitation phase. It discusses some actual attacks and shows how to get inside the system. In the previous chapter you had all the information about each service, and in this one we will take this step further and exploit the vulnerabilities. Exploitation phase has vulnerabilities assessment, public research for exploits, FTP service exploitation, SSH service exploitation, exploitation, telnet service exploitation, email server exploitation, Docker engine exploitation, Jenkins portal exploitation, reverse sales, exploiting the SMB protocols, and so on. Web application vulnerabilities. It focuses the basics of web application vulnerabilities. The goal is to allow you to test web application with ease during your engine. Every company has a website these days, and it's crucial to understand this topic from A to Z. And it has cross-site scripting, SQL injection, command injection, file inclusion, cross-site request for forgery, file upload bypass. Web application vulnerabilities has some other points that we have to discuss. So we are discussing about that multi-layer installation. To learn the principles in the this session, we will be using the vulnerable web application called multi-layered, and using Ubuntu to host this web application. Here the steps are getting to website up and running. Install the web server, set up the firewall, install PHP, install and set up the database that creates the other thing. SQL injection. From SQL injection, doing query the database using the SQL method, bypass the logging page by using the true statement in SQL, execute system commands, and furthermore have a remote shell. For example, manipulate the data by using insert, delete, update, and so on SQL commands. Web penetration testing and secure software development lifecycle. It may learn about the methodology of web application penetration testing and how to use Verb Suite Pro. Finally, we will see how to implement a secure software development lifecycle in an organization. It has web penetration, pen testing, using Verb Suite, web application enumeration tools, web application manual pen test checklist, web software development lifecycle. Next, Linux privilege escalation. It focuses mainly on Linux operating system privileges escalation. The techniques in this chapter will allow you to gain root privileges on a compromised Linux operating system. It has told you Linux kernel exploits, how it works, Linux SUID exploitation, manipulation of Linux config files, exploiting running services, shooters exploitation, automated scripting for Linux privilege escalation. Next, Windows privilege escalation. I think in the last previous slides we have seen a Linux privilege escalation, and now we are talking about Windows privilege escalation. It describes how to get administrator privilege on the compromised Windows operating system. Firstly, you will learn about how to enumerate the Windows operating system, and then you will see how to exploit the Windows system with practical examples. By reading this chapter, we'll know how to enumerate the Windows operating system, how to transfer file into Windows while in a limited shell, Windows kernel exploits, how it works, and then exploiting Windows services, Windows GUI exploitation, how it works, and privilege escalation automation tools. Next, profiting and literal movement. It describes how to use profiting techniques to move literally on the compromised network. In this chapter we will know how Windows hashes work under the hood and how to use admin credentials to get the job done. Next, providing literal movement. If we read this chapter, we will know, we will understand how Windows password hashes, dumping Windows password hashes, learning about fast the hash forwarding concepts like local port forwarding, remote port forwarding, dynamic port forwarding. Next, cryptography and hash cracking. This is a common thing in today's life. We are using cryptography and hash cracking for cracking the sites or website and so on. It describes how to crack hashes during your engagements using hashcat. Before starting on the cracking topic, you will learn about the basics of cryptography, including hashing, encryption and encryption. In this chapter, if we read this, we will know that basics of cryptography, hashing, encryption and hashcat uses. Reporting. It explains how to present professional penetration testing reports, and we will learn how to evaluate accurately the severity of our findings. Then if we read this, this will cover present reports to your clients or employees, score the severity of our findings. Then assembly language and reverse engineering. This is a fantastic topic that I have read till now. It will introduce us to the concept of reverse engineering, and it is essential for any engineering student using the assembly language. We will learn about the basics of assembly language, including registers, assembly instructions, memory segments and much more. In this chapter, we are having basics of assembly language, CPU registers, assembly instructions, data types, memory segments, reverse engineering and so on. Next, buffer or stack overflow. This is a common thing for a programmer, like C++, Java, and so on. And in the operating system, it is a very important thing. It will use what you learned to the previous chapter to exploit the stack using buffer overflow technique. And it will cover basics of the stacks, how to exploit the stack, the workflow to achieve a buffer overflow. Next, programming with Python. If we are good with Python, or if we compatible with Python, the Linux is for us. It discusses the basics of Python of version 3. This programming language is the choice of hackers, so you should learn it too. Programmers choice hackers choice it because it is too easy. It is a easy programming language, and easy to understand and easy to read or write, and easy to crack any kind of password by this language. In this chapter, it will cover how to install or use a Python debugger on Kali, basics of Python scripting, variable types, how to declare a function, how to handle loops, how to use conditions, how to implement error handling, how to create class objects. Pen test automation with Python. And another thing with the Python is pen test automation. It focuses on the automation of the penetration testing phases using the Python language. We will see a complete practical example that can use in our career. Pen test automation with Python had some other reasons. Pen test robot. One of the thing is penetration test robot. This tool will take advantage of the remoting protocols in Windows and Linux operating system. To access our Windows system, we can use RDP port 3389, and to access Linux operating system remotely, we can use SSH 422. This protocol aims to automate the process and scan a single IP or range and look it for those who services. If they are off, then the tool will try to automate a dictionary attack. Next, penetration automation with Python application workflow. Successful developers often design their application before they start coding. Generally I use Microsoft Visio for this purpose. We can also see the user will enter a single IP or a range in CIDR format. Classless interdomain routing format. Then the application will do the following actions: validate the input, scan for live host, scan the live host and check for ports 22 and 3389.4. If ports are open, then attempt a dictionary attack. Save the final results into the next text file. Next, if we install the Kali Linux, then we will have this kind of page or this kind of setup, and we will set the security tools and other tools in this. Top 10 security tools are there in this picture. We have seen that Nmap, Melgo, John, Hydra, and so on. In this picture we have seen we have install this kind of all kind of tools that we required. And if we want to install beware method, then we will get into this link, and we will install the Kali. And thank you for all to listen to me so kindly. Thank you, sir, for giving me a chance me to present my thoughts about this Kali Linux penetration testing. Thank you everyone, thank you all. Goodbye, Allah Hafiz, Assalamu alaikum.